Easy, and welcome to part 2 of this video where I discuss the left and the despicable new campaign tactics. In part 1 I discussed Britain. Now I'm going to discuss America and Canada. And now it gets worse. I'm going to start with something that I consider to be the most despicable episode in political history that I have ever seen in my lifetime. And that is the case of Brett Kavanaugh. Now, for those in Britain who were not familiar with that case, Brett Kavanaugh was Donald Trump's nominee for the Supreme Court in America. I think that's a little bit like the House of Lords in Britain. And they are powerful people and they preside over the law. And of course, the problem with Brett Kavanaugh was the fact that he was nominated by Donald Trump. And he was a white conservative man. And that is, of course, a red rag to a bull to the left. And the left decided, we are not going to accept this. We are going to take him down. And to do that, the Democrats, they needed an attack dog. And make no mistake that they chose their attack dog very carefully indeed. This was no accident. Enter Christine Blasey-Ford, who turned out to be, surprise, surprise, a far-left university lecturer. She had links with certain far-left groups, but what she was a specialist in psychology. Now, she accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault over 30 years ago. And what she was trying to make us believe is that there is such a thing as repressed memories, where that when you go through some trauma, memories can be erased from your mind and certain things can bring them back. Now, I'm not a psychology expert. Personally, I think that's a little bit bullshit. But if a psychology expert says that it's true, then you really should believe it, because that is their area of expertise. Now, she obviously thought that she could bullshit everybody with this. And she brought a case against Brett Kavanaugh, said that he did these things all that time ago at a party. And rightfully, that should be challenged. Because if that was to go before a court, it would be challenged. She would have to provide evidence. She would have to get a clear story. But she didn't have one. And Donald Trump, in one of his rallies, rightfully took her to account. He said to his supporters, he said that she couldn't remember anything. She was expecting us all to believe that he did this, but she couldn't remember any specific details, only the fact that she had one beer at this party. How did you get home? I don't remember. How did you get there? I don't remember. Where's the place? I don't remember. How many years ago was it? I don't remember. What neighbourhood was it in? I don't remember. Was it upstairs, downstairs? I don't remember. But it had one beer. That much I can remember. I'm sure it wasn't 2 beers, maybe 3 beers. No, it was 1 beer. I can remember it was 1 beer. So she remembers that she had 1 beer, but she can't remember the rest. Do you really expect that bullshit to stick? But let's have a look at what happened after that. Is that the outrage mob got going. And let's just look at the fact that about this psychology professor for a minute. Is that she has expertise in this area. It's a bit like, for example, that if I had a fire in my house, I would call the fire brigade. Now, I know how to put out the fire. But when the fire brigade came, I wouldn't start telling them how to do it. Because that's their area of expertise. They know what they're doing. And a case in Britain some years ago is where This is unrelated, by the way, but it's where a maths professor got caught for speeding by a speed camera, and the road was on a slight curve, and the camera dashes, as you know, are in a straight line. And he presented the court to get out of this with mathematical equations, sines, cosines, tangents, how the reading that the camera gave was wrong. And he thought that he could blind the court with science because he's a maths professor. We don't know anymore. A judge might be knowledgeable on the law, but he doesn't know about... He's not a maths expert, and he thought that he could bullshit the court. And that's what Christine Blasey-Ford tried to do. And that escalated it into something despicable. Brett Kavanaugh is a guy who... He's a well-respected guy in America as a judge. Now, what they did to him is that they didn't target his social media account. They went one stage better and brought false physical allegations against him. Now, Brett Kavanaugh has 2 children. And his children were round about 10 years old. And they were subjected to the most horrendous thing that a 10-year-old could be subjected to. We have to protect children from that kind of thing. And they were led to believe that their father is a sexual pervert. Now, they probably didn't really know what it all meant, thankfully. But that will have scarred those children for life. Did the left care? No. Their only intention was to bring down Brett Kavanaugh. And it was quite funny, actually, because when he gave his account of it, that they were looking at everything. They were looking at everything he said. They were looking at his body language, taking him apart in every way possible. And they drew the conclusion that he was angry. And if he's so angry, then he must have done these things. Look at his body language. Of course he was bloody angry. He'd just been accused of something that he didn't do 35 years ago with no way of being able to prove that he didn't. Now, of course, that's not his burden. He doesn't have to prove that. But he would want to prove that he didn't. And he couldn't. And so what happened then is that Christine Ford has then disappeared off the scene. She didn't have to answer for those accusations. She disappeared into Never Never Land. Now, I believe that Christine Ford was funded by somebody on the far left who's got very deep pockets. Now, who might that be, I wonder? I can't say it here, but we know. We all know. And Brett Kavanaugh was destroyed. Thankfully, he took the position and he did what Toby Young didn't do, is he stuck it out. And I believe firmly now that the only reason he was targeted is because of he was Trump's nominee. And Brett Kavanaugh and his family were just collateral damage because the main intention was to bring down Trump. Because that is what the left now... They cannot win against Trump. The left know that they cannot beat him. And this is why we are seeing a purge of social media amongst the right-wing people. And many of these people who have been kicked off of social media have been instrumental in Trump being elected. Now, the left have clearly instructed their friends being the people in senior positions at the big tech companies. There are many staff members at big tech companies who have been former members of Obama's campaign team, Obama's administration as well, and Hillary Clinton's campaign team. And they know that they just simply cannot beat Trump in a fair fight in 2020. So what they have to do is they have to nobble the opposition. They have to make it an unfair fight so they have an unfair advantage. And that is the only way that they can possibly beat him. They can't do it on merit. They can't do it on policies. I mean, they haven't got any policies that are going to knock Trump out of the White House. So they have to nobble the people who might be instrumental in getting elected. And this is what's happening on social media. This is the background behind why this is going on. Why people like Laura Loomer have been banned from Facebook. Why Lauren Southern have been banned. There are many what you might call figures, influential figures, who have been instrumental in Trump's election, and they have to take them down. They are never going to win otherwise. And now I just want to finish off by talking for a second about Canada, because in Canada they've just had an election where the party called the NDP that was ruling for the last 4 years was headed by a woman called Rachel Notley. And I've seen, because I watched Rebel Media, the great Ezra Levant and Sheila Gunn Reid. And the election was won, and it wasn't just won, it was smashed by the Conservatives. They absolutely smashed their way into it. They kicked out Notley with a size 10 boot. And Rachel Notley and her team have been attempting to take down Rebel Media, who they see as a threat. They have issued lawsuits against them. To fight these lawsuits, it's cost Rebel Media 20 grand. Just to fight these false allegations. And they even had somebody who was approached, one of their candidates who was approached by a Rebel Media reporter, asking questions, and she didn't like being questioned by this guy, and she even went as far as to call the police. This guy was there with a microphone and a camera, and she called the police on him. Can you believe that? The police! It was, and what happened then after that is that Rachel Notley, of course, has been rightfully obliterated, and she's a nasty woman. I've seen the campaign team and the members of her party, and they have long histories of attacking people who disagree with them, not just by digging into their social media posts, but physical. There are some cases of physical attacks. And thanks to Ezra, I love you, mate. You did a great job with Rachel Notley. Rachel Notley is history. Thanks to Rebel Media in part. So everybody watch Rebel Media, tune into Rebel Media, subscribe to Rebel Media. And I just want to finish off this this piece to say that all over the world the left are losing. And this is what you can expect from them. Be very careful out there with your social media posts, because they are gonna stop at nothing to bring you down. I promise you, they will stop at nothing. So take care out there. It's a rough world. If you're on the right, if you have right-wing views like me, it's a rough world out there. Take care of yourself, and until next time, easy.